Let not your heart be troubled. You are listening to the Sean Hannity Radio Show podcast. So like many of you, I have trouble sleeping. I have insomnia. No matter what I tried, it wouldn't work until I met Mike Lindell, and I got my very own MyPillow. It has changed my life. What makes MyPillow so different is MyPillow's patented adjustable fill. In other words, you can adjust the patented fill to your exact individual needs so you get the support you need and want to help you get to sleep faster and stay asleep longer. Just go to MyPillow.com or call 1-800-919-6090. Remember, use the promo code Hannity. When you do, Mike Lindell will give you his best offer ever. Buy one pillow and get another one absolutely free. MyPillow, made in the USA, 10-year unconditional warranty, and it has a 60-day, no-questions-asked money-back guarantee. You have nothing to lose. So it's time for you to start getting the quality of sleep that you've been wanting and we need. Just go to MyPillow.com or call 800-919-6090, promo code Hannity. Take advantage of Mike's special 2-for-1 offer. MyPillow.com, promo code Hannity. Glad you're with us. Write down our toll-free telephone number. Show number 2, 2018. Boy, there's always a shortage of news. There's nothing happening out there. I know that people aren't going to believe this, what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it anyway because for me, it's where I've always been. I know people are watching and following, and Twitter's exploding, and Michael Wolff has a new book coming out. I got to know Michael Wolff on a plane trip we actually once took together, and his comments about the early days of the Trump administration, the night of the election, and all. I honestly am so distant from the intrigue part of all of that when I tell everybody that, that has been asking me today in the corrupt left-wing media, what do you think this means? What does it mean, Bannon and Trump? Well, if you look at the very latest of what Steve Bannon tweeted, and, he's out there saying it's fake news taken out of context, don't believe the liberal propaganda machine, and comments that the president would respond to. I honestly am so not into palace intrigue. Now, I'm friends with many people within the, that I've known in the Trump campaign, people that I know that work in the White House. And I'm going to tell you what motivates me. I tried to tell this to that New York Times Sunday magazine reporter guy, and I said it over and over again. I'm not sure if he totally got what I was saying to him. I said, people don't understand what drives me and what motivates me. They don't. And how far can Sean Hannity go? And then the New York Times Sunday magazine took the absolute best picture of me they ever could. They hired one of the most renowned photographers. He did Serena Williams' cover on the New York Times Sunday magazine. And I looked at that. I said, oh, my God, could you make me look that good? Is that what you do? I said, great. They picked the right guy. No, they picked it's the worst picture that you could have ever picked. And everyone's saying, yeah, like you didn't know that was going to happen. And I tried to say over and over, and the media loves when people within the Republican Party create their circular firing squad. They love intramural fights. They love palace intrigue. They love who's up and who's down. They love all of that stuff. And I got to be honest, from my perspective, this is what drives me. I'm looking at, and I talked at length about yesterday, the major accomplishments that, in spite of all of the noise last year, happened. One of the most underreported stories is the number of people that Donald Trump has actually, in the Senate, got through for the judiciary. It was the biggest untold story of the year last year. Now, most people know about Neil Gorsuch. Most people don't know about all the other appointments that made it through the Senate. It was at a level that was 6, 8, 10 times faster than recent previous presidents. That matters to me because we see how corrupt the court system is in this country. And so much happens in the judiciary, what the left can't get done legislatively or at the ballot box, well, they try to use the court systems for. But what really motivates me is this, and I went through this. I mean, we had a year last year. If you think of the noise aspect, the noise was loud. The noise was Russia, 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 Russia. The noise was collusion, collusion, collusion. And A lot of smoke, as they would say, and still no fire. And I'm predicting that 2018 is going to be the year of the boomerang. Where are you going with this, Hannity? I'm going to tell you what 2017 was really about. Because, the stock market hit an all-time high. Now, that's not my biggest barometer. I'm not a stock market guy. Now, if you're in for the long term, you don't need the money for 10 years, you're willing to go through the arduous and painful up and down of the stock market, you go have at it. For me, just like, for example, how many people want Bitcoin, or cryptocurrencies? And I have friends that literally got in early. You got to get in. You got to get in. And I didn't have an interest enough to read about it. Never mind to invest money in it. But for those that did well and are doing well, good for you. But I get worried when I, when people in restaurants and waiters and taxi drivers ask me what I think about cryptocurrency, because I think it's too late if you're thinking about it now. That's my own humble opinion. What do I know? I didn't get on board when I was told to get on board when I was at $1,000. But that's neither here nor there. But when the stock market goes up 25% and $5 trillion in new wealth is created, well, that's only for the rich people. Well, no, that's for people that actually invest money in IRAs and retirement accounts. Their money's tied up in the stock market, too, in most cases. So that's good for them. When I see that unemployment is at a 17-year low and that since President Trump has been elected and taken office, 1.7 million jobs have created. When I see African-American unemployment is at a 17-year low, when I see consumer confidence at a 17-year high, when I see food stamp participation at a 7-year low, when I see home building now hitting record highs we haven't seen in a decade, and home prices are up 6%, which is people's biggest investment, when I see that, 20 regulations are slashed for every new regulation that is taken on, and I see that the energy sector of our economy is about to explode, and we're not going to be dependent on countries that hate our guts for the lifeblood of our economy, and I see that career jobs are being created, and then all of this has happened, all of it, without the Republicans passing this tax bill until the end of last year. And as somebody that has always been, we throw around these names, nationalist, populist, conservative. Look, I'm a conservative. I'm not a nationalist populist. I believe in Reagan conservatism. I haven't changed throughout my career. For those of you that have followed me, that's true. And for example, I believe in, conservative justices. I believe in energy independence. I believe in, securing our borders and securing our borders first. I believe, that America, if we don't create opportunity here, we're never going to create opportunity in the world. I look at, now we have GDP growth for the last 2 quarters over 3%. Obama's the only president in history that couldn't get one single year at 3%. The only president in history. I talked about the 13 additional million Americans on food stamps and the 8 million more in poverty and the worst recovery since the 40s and lowest labor participation since the 70s and the lowest home ownership rate in 51 years. The media is never going to talk about this. The media. So you want to know what drives me? That drives me. We're going to have a guest on the program. He's actually heading up, organizing these protests that are going on in Iran. Now, I know we don't have to get up in the morning and worry about a revolution and worry about fighting for freedom. And I know that these students and these young people take into the streets because they want freedom in Iran, something we probably take for granted. But a lot of them are at risk of getting mowed down in the street today, right now, as they're out there protesting at police stations, at military bases, and they're chanting death to the Ayatollah, which would be great for the world. So, the fear that has now created an alliance between Israel, the Saudis, the Jordanians, the Egyptians, the UAE, to prevent Iranian hegemony in the region, and we didn't support them in 2009. Even Leon Panetta said it was a mistake. I care about that. I can't believe that the president tweets out. By the way, this is just breaking. Paul Manafort is suing the U.S. Department of Justice, Bob Mueller, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein. This seems like a civil suit. That's going to be huge. That's going to be a very, very interesting development. Watch that closely. But I watch North Korea, and I see a liberal media out there. Oh, my God. President Trump said his nuclear weapons work, and they're bigger. Well, I mean, what does the left want? Do they want to kiss the ass of Kim Jong-un the way that Clinton kissed the ass of his father? And give him, billions of dollars and energy concessions and the right to keep the nuclear rods so he can build nuclear weapons. This is a good deal for the American people. Well, trying to bribe Kim Jong-il didn't work. And now he's trying to hold the world hostage. And we have a president saying, oh, no, we're not going to be held hostage by you or anybody else. And the media in this country explodes. They didn't say anything when literally plane loads of cash, $150 billion in currencies, was landing in Tehran for the Iranian mullahs and the stupidity of what it was that Barack Obama was doing. So, yeah, I mean, I'm watching the back and forth between Steve Bannon. I want to talk to Bannon about what he really said. He said apparently he's taking some issue with what Michael Wolff wrote, or what the nuance to it might be. And I obviously understand the president's response, but it's not my priority. Because this palace intrigue happens in every administration. And there's a constant battle. And I'm more concerned about forgotten men and women in poverty, out of work, needing jobs, energy independence, building a wall, protecting the homeland from terrorism. And if we do those things, we'll be prosperous, happy, and then we can fight over anything we want. So it's, you watch the media in this country. It's one of my biggest criticisms. They're like drug addicts, the media in this country. They're addicted to hating Trump over everything. And they live in this little bubble, the media bubble world. And you can see it on Twitter so plainly. If you tweet me, I'll retweet you. And if you retweet my... Anyway, so whatever, Trump sends out a tweet about North Korea that doesn't suck up to a dictator. And they step all over themselves to outdo each other. He's demented. No, he's not demented. He's really, 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 really demented. And then the next, he's really, 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 really demented. And that's all they talk about. I'm going to play this in the next segment here. And they want to outdo how anti-Trump they are. And it's every hour of every day. They're craving their fix. And it's like a drug to them. And, it's like crack, heroin, and meth. The dopamine rush these media people must get every time they're trying to outdo each other. Do they ever talk about the forgotten men and women in this country? Do they really give a crap? I don't think so. They don't act like it. They don't ever talk about it. Do they ever talk about solutions to health care? They ever talk about solutions to the economy? Did they ever admit that what they supported in the Obama years failed and failed miserably? No, they wake up every day. They need their fix. So a tweet, a comment, the rage rises in them. Their fake outrage, their fraudulent faux outrage that they latch onto. And, if all else fails and the president doesn't tweet that day, they'll just go back to Russia. But Russia doesn't give them the dopamine rush that a new tweet on Kim Jong-il or Rocket Man will give them. I don't hear them talking about solutions for the country. What did the president do that's so dangerous? He calls him Little Rocket Man, and he says you can't intimidate the United States of America. Okay, I'm glad. When did appeasement ever work in the history of this world, or sucking up to dictators? Just think about it. Anyway, we'll talk about anything you want. 800-941-SEAN is our toll-free telephone number. We got this Iranian leader of this national movement, and they're fighting for freedom today. And I hope they win for the sake of people, because I believe it's the natural state of human beings to want, desire freedom and liberty. Things we probably take for granted. We've got the best montage of the media meltdown over North Korea we're going to get to in a second. This is just breaking, by the way, on TMZ. The New York home of Bill and Hillary Clinton in Chappaqua was apparently on fire. The Chappaqua Fire Department told TMZ a structure on the property is ablaze. they were on the scene trying to control it. That's all we know at this time. We don't know if it's the main structure or was involved in some ancillary structure like a garage or a guest house that was on fire. No reports that anybody is in danger, thank God, at all, which is important. I'm sure the media by tonight will be blaming Donald Trump for starting the fire. Everything's Trump's fault. Other news, this is very interesting. Paul Manafort has filed a lawsuit. This is a civil suit challenging the authority of the special counsel, Robert Mueller. And he's arguing that the order establishing Mueller's investigation is overly broad and not permitted under Justice Department regulations. Remember, there was nothing that he was charged with that had anything to do with Trump-Russia collusion, which was the original mandate. One of the things I keep warning you about, the dangers of these special counsels is they go afar. I mean, they start out investigating one thing, and then they end up with, let's see. Oh, we got a plea from General Flynn for lying to the FBI. Well, maybe he didn't remember something. Or maybe one of Mueller's prosecutors, the guys that all donated to Hillary Clinton and hated Donald Trump, maybe one of those guys said to Flynn, we're just going to drag your son into it unless you agree to this charge. And you don't think that happens? That happens every single day. That's what prosecutors do. So you're a father. What are you going to do? Okay, drag my son into it. I want my son dragged into this. Now, you're going to fall on the sword like every good father would do. It doesn't matter. You served your country 30 however many years. That's meaningless. Doesn't matter. Where's the prosecutorial discretion that we always hear? Oh, that's right. That only goes to Hillary. But James Comey exonerates her with Peter Strzok long before they do the investigation. So Manafort's biggest problem is James Comey wasn't his BFF and Mueller wasn't his best friend. That's called this. Oh, no, that's a two-tier justice system. That's not equal justice under the law. It's about to change. Tick-tock. A lot coming. We'll play this montage next.
We tweeted, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un just stated that the nuclear button is on his desk at all times. Will someone from his depleted and food-starved regime please inform him that I, too, have a nuclear button, but it is a much bigger and more powerful one than his, and my button works. That's right. Happy New Year, everybody. We have two maniacs with nuclear warheads bragging about who has the bigger button.
He is not merely being cavalier with a threat about nuclear war. He's being cavalier in a way that makes him seem demented and deranged and makes no serious of our serious allies or adversaries around the world think that he's a serious person talking in this way about the most serious threat that the world ever faces.
Any thought that President Trump might be less provocative or even scale back his Twitter habit in 2018, well, you can safely throw that out the window. The president unloading in his first day back here at the White House, 16 tweets, mainly a mixture of taunts and threats, including raising the prospect of nuclear war, a shot at North Korea's unpredictable leader in language that many people noted seemed better suited for the playground than the presidency.
Tweeter-in-chief mocked North Korea's Kim Jong-un yesterday, saying that the nuclear button on his desk is much bigger and more powerful, and his works. Is this kind of a crazy game we're playing?
Trump needs to be medicated and hospitalized at this point, or he is going to just kill all of us.
This is language that would have been rejected from the script of Dr. Strangelove. This is a president of the United States doing a measuring contest about nuclear weapons. We can't begin to normalize this. This is dangerous. This is childish. This is unpresidential. It's not befitting the leader of the free world.
I think we could apply a test to his 16 tweets today. The test would be, if this were the leader of Germany or China or Brazil, what would we say? How would we cover these tweets? We would say these are the messages from a person who is not well, from a leader who is not fit for office. I've asked Twitter spokesman, does this violate Twitter's terms of service, making this kind of threat toward North Korea? So far, no immediate comment from the company. Still waiting to hear. I think they're trying to decide if this kind of tweet, referring to a nuclear button that he knows how to use and it works, whether that actually is a violation of the terms of service because it may threaten violence.
It's so scary. I'm so scared. I don't even know what to think. right, before I get to that montage, which is amazing, great job, everybody. All right, so TMZ is reporting. I'm not laughing at their house is on fire. Bill Clinton have a fire at their Chappaqua property, and we're told now apparently nobody's in jeopardy. Thank God. And I mean that sincerely. And it's not fun if you lose any property. I'm not laughing at that at all. Somebody, Sluggo, guy who hired me in Atlanta back in my News Monster days, and I'm now on WSB, and I'm no longer at the ex-wife, as Neil Bortz used to affectionately refer to us. Anyway, long story short, he writes me and he goes, oh, well, they first tried to delete the emails. They tried to acid wash them and bleach pit the emails, and they busted the BlackBerries. Now they're just burning the whole damn server down, he writes me. And I'm sorry, but that's funny. It really is funny. I'm like, oh, man. Yeah, it's cold but fun. Do you think that's a little funny? What?
I think it's hilarious.
Oh, as long as everybody's at the end of the day. So one year I came home from my 2-week vacation, the only time I take 2 weeks ever during the year.
Oh, there's an alert. It was a bedroom fire that's been extinguished.
Oh, a bedroom fire?
A bedroom fire.
Is that true? Or
I thought the server was in the bathroom.
No, it was in the
bathroom. Was it adjacent to the bedroom?
The mom and pop
Is that what
shop
happened?
Bathroom closet. Yeah, that's where it was. But James told me,
Stop putting your servers in the bathroom, everybody.
Stop it.
And then setting them on fire.
Was it really in the bedroom?
It was in the bedroom.
Was it? But nobody was there, right?
Nobody was there. Nobody's ever in that bedroom.
I mean, look, I came home one year. Really? I came home. That's not true.
The best part
That's not true. The delayed reaction.
The people that are supposed to be in there aren't.
Yeah, they're not there. I come home from vacation. For 3 days, a pipe had burst in my house. 3 days, dripping water from the top floor to the main floor to the basement. I almost had to redo the whole house. And it was horrible. But you know what? This stuff happens in life. What are you going to do? Sad.
So you're going to do that yourself, or you're going to hire someone? Because we all know that, you like doing the painting and everything now.
And how do you think I'm going to where's the time in my day to redo an entire house? Floors, walls, ceilings. Yeah, when was I going to do that, Ethan?
I mean, if you worked for CNN, they would want you to go there and wear the gas mask so you didn't get high from the films, obviously.
I thought that was the greatest video ever.
It's truly priceless.
The most trusted name in news. Gas mask, holding up joints, lighting bongs for the potheads on the bus. By the way,
wonderful example for our
children. There's no way that reporter didn't get a contact high. They were blowing that smoke right in her face.
She was wearing a gas mask. She couldn't have been sober.
Somebody pointed out to me, I have not. Go look at the video. Was she wearing pot earrings? Somebody said she looked like she had weed earrings on. And then I looked at it and I said, well, I'm blind, so I can't really see that well. But I said it looks a little bit like it in some way. But there's no way she was with the potency of that drug. Which is
she was. She's wearing cannabis leaf earrings.
Cannabis leaf earrings. And I'm like, she had to be wasted by the end of that. She
must be a professional.
Well, I told you that when I used to paint, when I was a painter of houses, I used to literally use this paint called Kills. And I remember spraying it. Let not your heart be troubled. You are listening to the Sean Hannity Radio Show podcast. So like many of you, I have trouble sleeping. I have insomnia. No matter what I tried, it wouldn't work until I met Mike Lindell, and I got my very own MyPillow. It has changed my life. What makes MyPillow so different is MyPillow's patented adjustable fill. In other words, you can adjust the patented fill to your exact individual needs so you get the support you need and want to help you get to sleep faster and stay asleep longer. Just go to MyPillow.com or call 1-800-919-6090. Remember, use the promo code Hannity. When you do, Mike Lindell will give you his best offer ever. Buy one pillow and get another one absolutely free. MyPillow, made in the USA, 10-year unconditional warranty, and it has a 60-day, no questions asked, money-back guarantee. You have nothing to lose. So it's time for you to start getting the quality of sleep that you've been wanting and we need. Just go to MyPillow.com or call 800-919-6090, promo code Hannity. Take advantage of Mike's special 2-for-1 offer. MyPillow.com, promo code Hannity. Glad you're with us. Write down our toll-free telephone number. Show number 2, 2018. Boy, there's always a shortage of news. There's nothing happening out there. There's I know that people aren't going to believe this when I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it anyway because for me, it's where I've always been. I know people are watching and following, and Twitter's exploding, and, Michael Wolff has a new book coming out. I got to know Michael Wolff on on a plane trip we actually once took together. And his comments about the early days of the Trump administration, the night of the election, and all. I honestly am so distant from the intrigue part of all of that when I tell everybody that, that has been asking me today in the corrupt left-wing media, what do you think this means? What does it mean, Bannon and Trump? Well, if you look at the very latest of what Steve Bannon tweeted, and he's out there saying it's fake news taken out of context. Don't believe the liberal propaganda machine and comments that the president would respond to. I honestly am so not into palace intrigue. Now, I'm friends with many people within the, that I've known in the Trump campaign, people that I know that work in the White House. And I'm going to tell you what motivates me. I tried to tell this to that New York Times Sunday magazine reporter guy, and I said it over and over again. I'm not sure if he totally got what I was saying to him. I said, people don't understand what drives me and what motivates me. They don't. And how far can Sean Hannity go? And then the New York Times Sunday magazine took the absolute best picture of me they ever could. They hired one of the most renowned photographers. He did Serena Williams' cover on the New York Times Sunday magazine. And I looked at that. I said, oh, my God, could you make me look that good? Is that what you do? I said, great. They picked the right guy. No, they picked it's the worst picture that you could have ever picked. And everyone's saying, yeah, like you didn't know that was going to happen. And I tried to say over and over, and the media loves when people within the Republican Party create their circular firing squad. They love intramural fights. They love palace intrigue. They love who's up and who's down. They love all of that stuff. And I got to be honest, from my perspective, this is what drives me. I'm looking at, and I talked at length about yesterday, the major accomplishments that, in spite of all of the noise last year, happened. One of the most underreported stories is the number of people that Donald Trump has actually in the Senate got through for the judiciary. It was the biggest untold story of the year last year. Now, most people know about Neil Gorsuch. Most people don't know about all the other appointments that made it through the Senate. It was at a level that was 6, 8, 10 times faster than recent previous presidents. That matters to me because we see how corrupt the court system is in this country. And so much happens in the judiciary, what the left can't get done legislatively or at the ballot box, well, they try to use the court systems for. But what really motivates me is this, and I went through this. I mean, we had a year last year. If you think of the noise aspect, the noise was loud. The noise was Russia, 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 Russia. The noise was collusion, collusion, collusion. And, a lot of smoke, as they would say, and still no fire. And I'm predicting that 2018 is going to be the year of the boomerang. Where are you going with this, Hannity? Our tax dollars, our energy concessions, and keep his nuclear rods, and he tells the American people that they're now going to be safe. So they don't criticize that. They're upset over a tweet that basically, in a nice, kind of hilarious way, says, we'll annihilate you. We will destroy you. Don't threaten us. And the president, I don't see this president giving billions to dictators. And it's the same with Iran. We could be literally witnessing any day now a mass slaughter of monumental proportions. Now, Leon Panetta, to his credit, actually said that Obama was wrong in 2009, and he was wrong. Not to support freedom, liberty, democracy among the Iranian people. You're a woman in Iran? Good luck to you. You're treated like fifth-class citizens. You're abused by men as a matter of law in Iran. How many more videos of gays and lesbians being murdered and executed and thrown off roofs do we need to see? And then you've got Barack Obama, the other Democrat. He thinks it's a brilliant idea. Let's take $150 billion in American currency and other currencies, and let's fly it in and give it to the Iranian mullahs who have threatened to wipe Israel and America off the map, that constantly talk about the great Satan is America, and burn our flag and burn the Israeli flag. And somehow they don't criticize that, and they're upset at President Trump referring to him as Little Rocket Man, as it's going to start. And it's what I told you in the last half hour. This is what it is. There is now an intoxicating drug. It's called Trump hate. It's stronger than Molly, fentanyl, heroin, crack, you name it combined. And they wake up every day. And what can I hate about Donald Trump today? They'll never talk about solving America's problems. They'll never talk about health care solutions. They'll never talk about getting people off of food stamps, out of poverty, and working again. They'll never talk about energy independence, securing our border, national security, dealing with radical Islamic terrorism, or any of these things. No, they're upset about it. He's such a liar, 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 liar. No, I can outdo you. He's bigger than that. He's a liar, 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 liar. That's all you get on CNN and Conspiracy TV, MSNBC. That's all you get. It's 24/7 now. 24/7 insanity that is representing itself and calls itself media. They don't report anything. It's one big echo chamber of liberal hatred of Trump. It's their drug of choice. Imagine if Donald Trump didn't tweet a month. You know what's never going to happen? Let me tell everybody in the media he's never going to conform to the person you think he should be, because he won being himself, and he'll win re-election being himself. And if he's successful, that's the worst thing that could happen to you, isn't it? Because you want him to fail. Dirty little secret. All right, as we roll along, Sean Hannity Show. All right, Sarah Carter, Victoria Tunsing. Yeah, it's true. The fix was in. We'll explain in all the details coming up. And we've got an Iranian that is actually leading these protesters exclusively. Coming up, Sean Hannity Show. All right, glad you're with us, Sean Hannity Show, 800-941-SEAN if you want to be a part of this extravaganza. So glad you could be with us. You know, so much making news today and the other day. Sarah Carter, our friend, investigative journalist, now a Fox News contributor and news person for us, she's been at the forefront of a lot of these scandals. You know, the Uranium One scandal, the Fusion GPS discovery. She broke news of the compromised FBI agent Peter Strzok and his role in the formal questioning of General Flynn. And, you know, we now have at this point, you know, we've hit the precipice where things, I think, are going to move rather quickly because the information, it was like unpeeling the layers of an onion. And when you kind of get to the inside of the onion, it starts becoming, we start unpeeling it faster and faster and faster and faster and faster. Sarah Carter's with us. Victoria Tunsing, a partner of the law firm DeGeneva and Tunsing. She's also representing that FBI informant at the center of these investigations, especially involving Uranium One and this horrible deal that went on with the bribery and extortion and the kickbacks of money laundering. And they still went to CFIUS and got the approval to let Vladimir Putin get a foothold in our uranium industry. And we don't have enough uranium in this country. Anyway, welcome back. Happy New Year to both of you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Sean.
Sarah, I asked you last night on television, what's going to be the biggest story of the year? And you said Uranium One. Why?
Well, there's so much that hasn't been reported yet, and there's so much more evidence, I believe, that still is going to come out. And remember, we still are waiting to hear from the informant, and Victoria will be able to speak to this and his testimony to Congress. What we've done is we've peeled back those layers, just like you said, Sean, and now we're starting to see the results of that, not with just Uranium One, which I think is going to be one of the biggest stories because it's going to expose what people have suspected for a long time, and Peter Schweitzer wrote about, which was pay for play. And I believe that this informant has the capability to lead people directly in that direction. And there'll be other witnesses that will come forward, I believe, this year as well as the investigation continues. But I think we're going to see a lot more with regards to Uma Abedin and her use of her personal email and sending classified documents.
Can I just interrupt you? When you say, I think we're going to see a lot more, that means you know we're going to see a lot more, doesn't it?
I know we're going to see a lot more. Absolutely. I know we're going to see a lot more. I know I'm being a little bit cautious sometimes because as a journalist, that's the job. But based on the information that I've already seen, there is going to be a lot more. And those layers will take us into different directions. But that central onion, that beginning point, that is already unraveled, and I think we're getting really close to the core.
Victoria, look, I know there's a lot you can't tell us before the Christmas vacation, and everybody I know spent time with their families and went away and might have gotten away from some of these issues, but you're representing this informant. This informant for 6 years worked for the FBI and was able to infiltrate, and he saw up front, close and personal, everything that was going on in terms of Vladimir Putin's representatives, if you will, within the United States, committing bribery, extortion, money laundering, kickbacks, all of this happening. And that was 18 months or even longer before CFIUS, Hillary Clinton among them, Eric Holder among them, the 9 people, the 9 departments that actually approved the Uranium One deal, giving up 20% of America's uranium, in this case to the bad actor Putin. And, you know, for the life of me, I don't understand why others in the media don't see this as the dumbest thing that they've ever seen and questionable when you look at the money kickbacks.
And here's one place where we need to go with that, Sean. My client, Doug Campbell, was telling the FBI day after day after day about what was going on inside these Russian companies, not only the bribery and corruption, but Putin's plan to corner the market on uranium. So given that, and the FBI agents were telling him, hey, we're briefing the highest people. One time, twice actually, they said, we're briefing the President of the United States. You're in his briefing papers, the daily briefing papers. So here's the question. What did Bob Mueller, the special counsel who's dealing with Russia, what did Robert Mueller know about Uranium One and the investigation? And if he was being briefed, did he go to Eric Holder, the then Attorney General, who was sitting on the CFIUS board, and tell him so that they would stop this sale to these corrupt companies? And who knows? We don't have the answers to that. Now, I know Senator Grassley has sent out letters to all the agencies involved in CFIUS, and the last time I checked, he had not gotten answers back.
Okay. Now, you were spending time alone with your client and preparing for congressional testimony. Look, you have been around Washington for many, many years. You've seen many, many investigations over these years. And both you and your husband, Joe DeGeneva. And how big is this going to be? And I know you're not prone to hyperbole. How big is this?
It's a major story in that here's what I think. I think that Hillary and Bill Clinton knew that Obama was bound and determined to make the sale of the uranium go through because, he was into the reset at that time. And he thought if he was nice to people, they would just love him. That was his mentality, as you recall.
Right.
The same thing with Iran.
Right.
And so I think that knowing that the Clintons put the leverage on the Russians because, any one person on CFIUS could stop it. And I think they put the word out that, Hillary can stop this. You better be nice to the Clintons. How else did Bill Clinton get $500,000 paid for by the very capitalists in Russia, the Renaissance group, who were touting none other than Uranium One stock? Is
this going to be the biggest story of the year? Do you agree with Sarah as well?
Well, I don't know. I think there's quite a few coming down the pipe.
No, I mean, well, they're all now look, it's like last year we were building a foundation, and this year, now the house is going up, and now a lot of these things I think are going to come to light, and I think the media is going to have a big awakening in terms of how wrong they have been on a lot of things. And I know everybody is caught up in palace intrigue today. But, Sarah, knowing what you know, I guess the question is, Why would Bob Mueller, why did all of these people know about all of these crimes, know about Putin's motives, and not speak up when they had an eyewitness that we now know has eyewitness testimony, documents, emails, and perhaps even tapes that is going to provide to Congress that's going to shed light on everything they knew before they signed off on this?
Great point. But let's just go back to what the CFIUS board did. Even if every member other than the president on the CFIUS committee believed that there was no problem here and had not been informed by anyone about this, the president himself apparently did know. And it was up to the president, and the president had the right to veto this deal. They did so with China on a deal previously, and they decided not to on this one. And so now what we got to ask is, what are the involvement of all these players and how they intertwine with everything else, Sean, that we've been covering here, right to the special counsel? I mean, Andrew McCabe, who's the deputy director, who's expected to be retiring in March right now and is under a lot of hot water, was also at the Washington field office. He would have known about this. He would have known about Uranium One. He would have known about the informant. He would have been advised on this. This is something he would have known about as well. And remember, Andrew McCabe was also the person promoted by Robert Mueller when he was head of the FBI to the Washington field office. I mean, he was number 3. Mueller promoted him. So all these people are all connected. And now we're asking, like the fox to guard the hen house, right? We're asking for people to investigate themselves and investigate this subject. I think what's going to be important here is if the Department of Justice wants to get to the bottom of this, as they are right now, prosecutors are now interviewing FBI agents that were involved in this case in the past, hopeful that there will be a prosecutor to look into this and see where this goes, because this was not just about pay for play and the Clintons. This was about a national security issue that was so big, and a lot of people forget about this. This was about Russia's dealings with Iran. This was about Russia and enemies of the United States working on energy projects overseas and nuclear projects, and this was about our own national security. So I think that this is the real issue here, is what they're most afraid of to come out. What is going to come out of this investigation that goes far beyond even Hillary and Bill Clinton, and what were the national security implications, and why did President Obama ignore it?
And how did it keep suppressed all this time with all of this going on and so many honest FBI agents out there? And Sarah, I know you have good sources. We have good sources. We're told that if any of them complained about it, that McCabe would put them under a leak investigation.
That's exactly true. That is exactly true, and that is
and
new information.
We didn't even talk about this, Sean. We didn't even coordinate this.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I understand that. It's very interesting. If you watch the fake news media is so out of control and so agenda driven. They have ignored so much, and they have gone. It's been a leap of faith and then some for all of them, to go out there on a limb on Russia-Trump collusion, and it seems to have deteriorated to nothing. That the latest talking point, which they all regurgitate each other's talking points, is that somehow conservatives and people like Sean Hannity and others don't like the FBI and are being unfair to those institutions. Now, I know, Victoria, you have known me for all my years that I've been on Fox, now in my 23rd year. I don't think, and I don't know, maybe there's others, I don't think anyone has been more pro-FBI law enforcement than Sean Hannity. We're not talking about rank and file FBI, but we are talking about, Comey and Strzok when the fix is in and it's rigged, to use the words of Congressman Gates, and they exonerate before investigating, or if they ignore bribery, extortion, kickbacks, and money laundering, and allow this deal to go through on Uranium One, or Hillary Clinton basically got a pass that nobody else that would ever get. I mean, if that's not obstruction, bleach pit, acid wash, destroying evidence, and blackberries, I don't know what is. I don't think you could get me out of jail if I did those things.
And the IT person who did the bleach pit, when he was first interviewed by the FBI, he said he could not recall doing so. And then all of a sudden he was rewarded for lying about it, because you don't not recall that. And he was given immunity. And you know what? He all of a sudden recalled.
Amazing, right? Pretty amazing.
And compare
it's
that
an
with
incredible point. It's a very important point that Victoria just brought up, Sean, because he actually he lied. He directly knew. I mean, how do you not know that you've cleaned an entire server, and that you bleach bit an entire server to delete all of those emails, and then you turn around and say, "Oh man, I completely forgot that I did that." Weeks later, you tell the FBI this, and nothing happens. These are very serious charges, and obstruction. What I think that a lot of them are, especially people within the higher echelons of the FBI, are most concerned about is the fact that the rank and file are going to turn against them and have been turning against them. And remember, the Inspector General is interviewing.
Yeah, when are we getting that report? When is that Inspector General's report due? Isn't it January this month?
I think they're expecting it in early February right now, is what I've been told.
We'll take a break. Victoria Tunsing, Sarah Carter, 800-941-SEAN. You want to be a part of the program. We'll also update you. Luke Rosiak is going to join us. The trouble Uma Abedin now finds herself in. All right, as we continue, Sean Hannity Show, Sarah Carter, Victoria Tunsing with us. You saw the op-ed by the Fusion GPS guys. Sarah, what was your reaction to that? Because don't we know that Hillary, and according to Donna Brazil, Hillary running the DNC, that it was all their money paying Fusion GPS, and they're claiming it wasn't used as a predicate, as far as they know, for the warrants, the surveillance warrants against Trump, either candidate or president-elect. They're denying all. They were shocked at what they found, and that Christopher Steele never paid the Russians at all. Do you believe that? I don't.
No, I don't. I think that right now they're on an offensive, right? I mean, they've had to be on the defensive for some time because all this information came out. They weren't honest about it to begin with. They were trying to keep that from many of the committees. I mean, nobody really knew until those stories broke who actually was paying for the Steele dossier. I mean, I think it was pretty shocking when it came out to a lot of people that it was the DNC and Hillary Clinton campaigned through.
They lied for a year, didn't they?
Yeah, they lied for a year, and now, they're trying to spin the story back around and trying to say, look, we're a credible research firm, and we hired this credible guy, Christopher Steele, which, by the way, I don't know him whatsoever. He may be a great MI6 agent. I've heard from other intelligence officials who've worked with him that he wasn't as great as people claim in their stories. So, I mean, there's two different stories here on Christopher Steele. He was a little bit of an over-exaggerator, according to some of the sources that I've spoken with, people who've worked with him directly, and they didn't think he was that great of an agent. Other people say he was a fantastic agent. What we do know is that he had a great relationship, with the Obama administration. What we do know is that they utilized him, Fusion GPS, to conduct this investigation. They also had Nellie Orr working for them, whose husband happened to be Bruce over at the Department of Justice. So there's a lot of tangled webs here, and
let me ask Victoria this question.
Proven true.
All right, look.
Other than that, Carter Page went to Moscow.
I'm running out of time. Yeah, real quick.
Sean,
yeah, go ahead.
Can I make a comment first about the op-ed? If I had been writing that op-ed, I would have had at least one and probably three incidents of facts that I had found about Trump and given the corroboration. They had no credibility. They were only conclusory.
All right, I appreciate you both being with us. This is getting really fascinating. It's now, well, you might say, at an accelerated pace, or as Art Bell used to say, a quickening. I'll explain more. All right, 25 now till the top of the hour. 800-941-SEAN is our number. You want to be a part of the program. One of the things that I'm saying about 2018 is it's going to be the year of the boomerang. What do you mean, Hannity? There is no Trump-Russia collusion, but there is collusion as it relates to Hillary Clinton, the dossier. And I, by the way, I don't care what the Fusion GPS people are writing in their op-ed because they got millions of dollars to produce this. Well, but the Republicans hired us first. Okay, that too is meaningless because Christopher Steele wasn't on the scene at the time. And if you listen, all the people that have given us all this information, that have been breaking this information, the John Solomons, the Sarah Carters, the Greg Jarretts, all the people we have been putting on it's all going to come down to Uranium One, too. And James Comey is in legal jeopardy, probably too arrogant to even know it yet, based on his own tweeting about, oh, we need to bring morals and ethics back. Yeah? Well, maybe you shouldn't exonerate before you investigate. That would be an honest investigation. And if you're worried about tainting an institution as amazing as the FBI, well, then if you're going to do it, you can't have special investigations for some people, like your friend Hillary, because you want her to win an election. Now, of course, the latest development is Uma Abedin. Well, what else? I mean, this whole email server scandal is back in play. Why is it back in play? Because felonies were committed. And then the fix was in. I mean, literally, you have Congressman Gates of Florida saying it was rigged. The whole investigation was rigged. You don't start writing an exoneration in May that you're going to deliver in July, and you haven't even interviewed the people that are involved that you need to interrogate. That's not how we do investigations in this country. And usually the field offices, the FBI, which have confident, dedicated, career employees, you don't take it back to headquarters and call it special. And it's only special because you don't really want them to do their job in that particular case. Anyway, Uma Abedin, now we find out, was forwarding sensitive State Department emails, including passwords, through to government systems to her personal Yahoo email account before every single Yahoo account was hacked, according to now new information we have. Luke Rosiak of the Daily Caller is with us. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Sean.
All right. Happy New Year. Let's start with what you know about Uma Abedin and when she did it and why it's illegal.
Well, she started doing it right from the very beginning. She got the fancy new job at State. Of course, they had all these rules. They got special computer systems, and they got her set up. They sent her passwords to log on to all her new government laptops. First thing she did is send that email with all the passwords to her Yahoo. So, I mean, most people, when you get a new job, you at least try to follow the rules for a little bit. But they came in day one saying these rules didn't apply to them. Now, these rules, we have them for a reason. I mean, it's not just trying to be inconvenient. The reason they say don't forward around emails willy-nilly is because the places you forward them might get hacked. And they learned why they had these rules because, sure enough, Yahoo did get hacked repeatedly, again and again and again.
Do we know who got a hold? Do we know who got a hold of the sensitive information?
Well, a Russian was indicted for hacking 500 million Yahoo accounts. It's kind of complicated because there's a number of different hacks. That's
this guy Igor, what's his name, Sushin, right?
Yeah.
Okay, he hacked 500 million Yahoo email accounts.
Right. Of course, he was an official at a Russian company that gave Bill Clinton $500,000 to do a speech in Moscow, where Vladimir Putin wrote a thank you note to Bill for coming. So it is kind of funny that, it was a Russian who did this, and it was pretty bad. But they didn't do anything to stop hackers from getting at their emails, and they certainly didn't have any problem with Russia before. It's all well and good to get all up in arms when the DNC breach happens. I understand that. Ordinarily, I would have sympathy. It was a bad thing that happened. But this is how hacks happen. They don't just happen to you. They were basically had a neon sign on that said, hackers, come to us. We have no security precautions. We have terrible security procedures. So it's kind of on them. I mean, you're supposed to be careful for a reason, and what happened to the DNC isn't really surprising at all when we see how Democrats operate when it comes to technology.
All right, let's go back and explain in detail how this all happened.
Well, Hillary talks a lot about was her Clinton emails hacked or was it not hacked. The FBI said it probably was, and then, of course, they watered that down, even though they had made the assessment that it probably was. They said it was just possibly in the final speech. But there's another part of what Jim Comey said shortly before the election that didn't get a lot of attention. He said Hillary Clinton's confidants, their emails absolutely categorically were taken over by hostile actors. So that was very well may have been talking about Huma. So these are State Department emails that she's forwarding. So not only do we have the unofficial Clinton server being run out of the bathroom, we've also got a satellite orbit of other, even less secure, even more unofficial servers, and those were ones like Huma was using, and they were just forwarding things. And so she was doing that right from the very beginning. It was pretty well known that Yahoo was getting hacked constantly. For example, CNN did a story one day in 2012 talking about a Yahoo hack, and 5 days later, Uma Abedin is sending classified information about Syria to her Yahoo account.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that's unbelievable about all this now is that we never had an investigation. We know that 5 foreign service 5 foreign agencies literally hacked into Hillary's accounts. We know that she had classified top secret special access programming information on all of them. That means she compromised American security. And then probably the most obvious obstruction of justice case I've ever seen in my life, as evidenced by, erasing, deleting emails, bleach bit, just to make sure they're gone forever, like acid wash. Oh, and on top of that, let's break up any BlackBerries that we might have laying around here, and we'll make sure everything is done, gone, and buried. And meanwhile, God knows who had access to all of this information, probably our worst enemies.
Right, and there's so much, the media, they have talked about this, but they followed it as a procedure story, a process story. What is the FBI doing? What is the FBI not doing? Other than you and the other couple of reporters you mentioned, there hasn't been a lot of original investigation. And when you go back and you look at some of the stuff that they found that hasn't got attention, Hillary's people, they sent a laptop in the mail with copies of all of Hillary's emails, and it was lost. They also lost a USB drive with all of the emails. This is just incredibly a cavalier attitude. They didn't care about security at all. And it's really funny how they're so up in arms about the DNC getting hacked. Well, that's just political party stuff. At the end of the day, well, even if it's the RNC or the DNC, we should care about national security more than we care about political parties and whatever party info is on that server. There's no reason they should be so up in arms about the DNC leak. But then when the classified information, national security, State Department stuff is being sent out, it's no big deal. As President Trump reminded us this week, Pakistani guy Imran Awan hacked Congress. And I've seen the report. Congress determined that this guy hacked Congress. And the Democrats do not even care. They don't bat an eye. So why do they care about political stuff more than national security, more than Congress, more than the United States of America government information?
Well, Luke, we really appreciate everything you're doing on this. Do you have any update on Debbie Wasserman Schultz? I know you've been following that case very closely for us.
Well, we're going to see a lot more, Sean, and I hope you have me back, but I'll say it's not just Debbie Wasserman Schultz. This is a national security issue concerning many Democrats, including Gregory Meeks and others.
All right. Thanks so much, Luke Rosiak at the Daily Caller. Actually, we have a real reporter. You know, the president tweeted out crooked Hillary's top aide, Uma Abedin, accused of disregarding basic security protocols. She put classified passwords into the hands of foreign agents. Remember the sailors' pictures on the submarine? There were 6 pictures. Christian Saucier, we've had his mother on this program, had his lawyer on this program. Yeah, he's spending a year in jail. It's unbelievable what's going on here. All right, let's get to our busy telephones as we say hi to Kirk. He's in Missouri. Kirk, how are you? Glad you called, sir. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Sean, I want to talk to you about the core, main, number one issue that Americans are really upset about, or the most upset about. And it's the fact that day in and day out, week after week, year after year, we hear about scandal after scandal after scandal, and nobody's going to jail. You know, if Trump really wants to secure up this country and make it great again, he's got to get the Department of Justice under control. If he wants to be reelected, he's got to get the Department of Justice under control. This is just, I can't emphasize to you enough, Sean, that this is the number one thing that most Americans are upset about, is that nobody's going to jail. And on top of that, when you have people like Newt Gingrich come on and some of these other guests I've heard that say that the Trump shouldn't target specific people to go to jail, that just makes us want to rip the radio out. I'm telling you, Sean, I just don't know how to put it in clearer words than this. We're filling our jails full of a bunch of dumb pot smokers, but yet we don't have a single politician in jail other than maybe Weiner for sending stupid pictures of himself. I mean, come on. There are high crimes going on. This is major corruption, and nobody's going to jail.
Well, the only thing I can tell you is this, because, and I know a little bit more than I'm able to say at this point. Your passion is infectious. You're right over the target. There is now, I am telling you, a series of things that'll be coming out in the next year that will change this equation dramatically. It's going to be a total 180. And I know everybody today wants to talk about Steve Bannon and the president. I honestly, I don't have, I know that everyone wants palace intrigue, but palace intrigue isn't going to save the people that are in the middle of a revolution about to get mowed down in Iran. It's not going to stop the left from wanting to appease Kim Jong-un in North Korea. It's not going to get the forgotten men and women back to work and out of poverty and off of food stamps. So I'm more focused on what's going to work to make this country great. That's where my head is at. That's where it's always been. That's what 2016 was about. That's what 2018 is ultimately going to be about. So, but at the end of the day, if we don't follow the law, what you're suggesting is true. If we don't have equal justice under the law, if we have corruption, if the fix is in, if somebody can steal a primary, Hillary, if somebody can have somebody in the FBI, Comey, Peter Strzok, others, cover for her, then the country, it's a post-constitutional America. I'll quote Levin. The rule of law is our Constitution, and the rule of law must be applied equally. And that's why, Hannity, you're attacking I'm not attacking the FBI. I'm attacking some people that at the highest levels of the deep state in this country have been involved in activities that they never should have been involved in. And if you were involved in it and I was involved in it, we'd be in jail. And this is Watergate on steroids, human growth hormone at levels that would kill people. It's so bad. But it's now getting exposed, but it's like, unpeeling the layers of an onion. I like onions, but too many onions aren't good. It's like the salad I had today. There were way too many onions in that salad, I'll tell you that. Anyway, good points, Kirk. Appreciate it. 800-941-SEAN. Susanna is in Pittsburgh, PA. Hey, Susanna, how are you? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Sean. Just want you to know that you're like a brother to my husband, and
thank you.
We just love you.
I will say one thing. You know what was really nice over the holiday? And you're making me distracted here. I got to meet people, that I just going out on my day-to-day stuff, going shopping, going out to eat, doing whatever. And I didn't gain any weight over vacation, which is a miracle because I was very disciplined.
A miracle.
Yeah, I know. But something, the people of this country, people like yourself, are so amazingly great. And I would ask people what they do and talk about their families. And we have so many good people in this country. And, you say something nice to me and I'm like, no. I'm just a guy with a big mouth on radio and TV.
We love you. And you're more than that. You are our antidote to insanity. That's why I'm telling you, I have a New Year's resolution. I want to ask you yours too, but my New Year's resolution is I've written out a jingle for you.
You have?
It deals with Hannity for sanity. That's it, baby. So, and it works.
Did you actually produce it, or do we have to produce Hannity for sanity? Because...
Hey, I've written it. If you have someone who can put music to it, I'm trying to get this one guy who it was in a band before, because I wanted to have music before I give it to you. I have the melody. I have everything. I just need instruments. But anyway, it's perfect. It is so you. You are the antidote for the insanity. So that's why we say Hannity with sanity, Sean. And
I know people get sick and tired of this fight. I know people get tired of people writing me all day. What's going on with Bannon and Donald Trump and so on and so forth? All of this at the end of the day is very low on my list of priorities right now. I got to take a break. I appreciate it. God bless you, Susanna.
Some of my classmates are now in jail and they are being tortured. My special thoughts to my best friend Arjang Dawoodi, who has 11 more years to serve. 70 million people in my country suffer for the past 29 years because of a small group of fanatic mullahs. Iranians love peace and love the world, especially the United States of America. I hope one day our country can once again be friends with everyone, including Israel. Please help us. Every one of you can help the Iranian young people so they can achieve their dreams for a secular democratic country. Let us look into the future. As my American role model, Thomas Jefferson, said, I like the dreams of the future better than the history of the past.
All right, when we come back, by the way, you're going to meet the leader of the Iranian protesters that's here in the United States and has been planning and plotting and is in touch with all of those protesters, putting their lives on the line that we just played for you. This guy is an amazingly courageous man.
Stay right here for our final news roundup and information overload in the final hour of the Sean Hannity Show.
It is far past time for the nations of the world to confront another reckless regime, one that speaks openly of mass murder, vowing death to America, destruction to Israel, and ruin for many leaders and nations in this room. The Iranian government masks a corrupt dictatorship behind the false guise of a democracy. It has turned a wealthy country with a rich history and culture into an economically depleted rogue state whose chief exports are violence, bloodshed, and chaos. The longest suffering victims of Iran's leaders are in fact its own people. Rather than use its resources to improve Iranian lives, its oil profits go to fund Hezbollah and other terrorists that kill innocent Muslims and attack their peaceful Arab and Israeli neighbors. This wealth, which rightly belongs to Iran's people, also goes to shore up Bashar al-Assad's dictatorship, fuel Yemen's civil war, and undermine peace throughout the entire Middle East. We cannot let a murderous regime continue these destabilizing activities while building dangerous missiles, and we cannot abide by an agreement if it provides cover for the eventual construction of a nuclear program. The Iran deal was one of the worst and most one-sided transactions the United States has ever entered into. Frankly, that deal is an embarrassment to the United States, and I don't think you've heard the last of it, believe me.
I remember that movement. It's a much larger protest than what we're having today. It was based on the Green Party and what happened in the election then. I do think that that was an appropriate time for the United States to have sent a clearer message that we stand by those who try to represent the rights of people. That's what the United States is all about, and it would have been important to have sent that message at the time.
All right, news roundup and information overload hour here on the Sean Hannity Show. That was the president 4 months ago predicting exactly what would be happening in Iran. Now we have protests all across the entire country. Police stations now are being attacked by the protesters, by the people. That includes military installations. That includes chanting of death to the Ayatollah. Very interesting to watch a divide that exists between the radical mullahs that rule Iran and its people. The scary thing at this point is how many people now are going to die as they try to stop this movement of the people. Two very different things. I mean, to hear Leon Panetta admit that Obama made a mistake back in 2009, well, that's an understatement. Just like the Iranian deal was probably the dumbest act of appeasement in the history of mankind. You don't give radical mullahs that are chanting death to America and death to Israel and burning American flags and burning Israeli flags, you don't give them $150 billion when you know that their goal and their desire is to get nuclear weapons. And A squared plus B squared equals C squared, nuclear weapons in the hands of radical Islamists, well, that could equal a worldwide catastrophe that we've never witnessed before, and potentially hundreds of millions of people, their lives at risk, and which is a scary scenario. But this naivete among people like the Clintons, and Winston Churchill took on Neville Chamberlain, and Obama thought he could basically kiss the ass of radical Islamists and think that somehow they're going to like him better. And they did not. Now, we have a very special guest. His name is Amir Fakhraveh. I hope I said that well, Amir. And he's with the National Iranian Congress, Senate chairman. He's the founder of the Iranian Confederation of Students. You have been active in this movement from the get-go. You're in contact with these protesters daily. Tell us about it.
Thank you, Sean, for having me. And, when I was listening to President Trump's comments, I couldn't be more agree with him. He was 100% right about everything he said about Iran. And I can say I couldn't be more disagree with President Obama with what everything he have done in Iran. During 2009, when we had millions of people in just one city in Tehran, we had 4,500,000 people in the street. They have been chanting death to dictator at that time. And President Obama said, I don't want to take side. But he lied. That was not about taking side. He could be quiet at that time, but he was taking the side of regime because that was the secret negotiation about Iran deal at that time. They started.
And we know that that's true, that that negotiation went on for a very long period of time before anybody ever knew about it, culminating in literally, plane loads of cash and other currencies being delivered to the mullahs.
Exactly. The negotiation was started at the summer of 2008 when he was still campaigning. And then he started sending letter to Iranian Supreme Leader and telling him, if I become president, then I will help you. And then we will neutralize the relationship between United States and Iran. And it was wrong because we can't go and negotiate with a dictator like Ali Khamenei, who has the blood of hundreds of thousands of Iranian young kids in his hand, and a lot of Americans.
How many people? There are reports that the body count of dead people in Iran is over 22. Is it higher now?
Oh, it's look. I have been involved in these type of protests since 20 years ago. When I was in Iran, I have been protesting. I have been leading the student movement in July 9, 1999. And we know about these type of protests. When they are saying it's more than 20, you should know it's more than 200. It's hundreds of people, because 20 means we have the video of 20 people have been killed in front of the videos. And that's hundreds of people being killed and thousands of them being arrested. Regime is trying to minimize the protest, and that's interesting because the regime and liberal media, both of them together, they are trying to minimize the protest and say it's just a small protest, but it's not small. Millions of people in more than 100 cities, they are out and they are chanting death to dictator, death to Khamenei, death to Islamic Republic, and independency, freedom, and Republic of Iran.
But your group actually started this on December 23rd, as I understand, the Iranian National Congress. You issued a formal request for the citizens of Iran to begin major protest movements. So you have been in the planning stages of this. Obviously, there is a great desire of the people of Iran to have a better life. What is life like for them now? What is life like for women? What is life like for minorities? What is life like for the average person in Iran?
That's correct. We invited the people to come out and express their views because we have seen the potential. And after President Trump came up and with all promises, President Trump said, I will support Iranian people. If they come to street again, I will not be like Obama to not support them, to betray them. And then we have seen the people. It was a lot of hope. And then we said, okay, let's see what will happen with this potential. Last week, we invited people to come out, and even we couldn't believe in our wildest dream it will be that huge. And about the what was the next question?
Well, I want to go, what is life like for the average person in Iran? How oppressive is it?
You mentioned the women's. Thank you for mentioning that, because in Iran, in the ideology of mullahs, ideology of Islamic Shia, the women are not real human. They are just type of animals.
They're abused by men.
It's officially they are mentioning in their books, their holy books, that women are animals with the skin of human to make man's calm.
That is their interpretation of women, and that's widespread, or is that only widespread among more radical Islamists?
It's the radical Islamists, but they are using their books. It's the Shia books. And then the regime thinks like that, but the people, we are talking this small group of fanatic mullahs who are in power.
We've seen videos of gays and lesbians thrown off of roofs. And assassinated.
If you want to go there and talk about these things, these very violent activities against the right of every people. Let me ask you this.
Look, I've often said this, and I don't know if you remember Tiananmen Square, and man, there was one iconic video that came out of this young man that was standing in front of the tank.
Yeah.
Okay. And the tank would move and he'd move. The tank would move, he would move. And I've often said this, that you can have a revolution, and I see what you're calling for, and they're all noble goals: a free and democratic government, which the Iranian people deserve, a new constitution, and defining a free and democratic Iran, and a free and democratic, honorable, responsible to the international community. All noble goals. But revolutions are not won with slingshots. They're not won with knives. When you have Qud forces, as you do in the Iranian National Guard, as powerful and well-armed as they are, my fear at this moment is that they will do, those that cling to power, the mullahs, they will do what is necessary, and they will mow down and potentially kill thousands of people. Do you share that fear?
You know what, Sean? When 11 years ago, I escaped from prison, Evin prison, after 5 years of being tortured under.
I want to talk
regime.
about that in a minute.
And then, when I came for the first time, I went to Washington, D.C. I went to the mall, Washington Mall. And then I have seen the wall with the slogan, "Freedom is not free." I was standing there and looking at that one.
It's not free, and give me liberty or give me death. But when it's happening in real time, and the world is now literally on the precipice, on the verge of a potential human catastrophe in your country. You grew up in Iran.
Yes.
Now, tell us the story about how you were put in prison and why. And what happened?
I was a student activist, and my jail time was started.
What year was this?
That was, if I want to translate it to English, that was 1992, 93, those times.
All right, let's talk about the environment you grew up in. Were your parents radical? Were your parents free thinking? Were your parents fearful of the Ayatollah?
My father was Air Force Army officer. And no radical. Iranian people, we are not radical. These small group of fanatic mullahs, they are not representative of Iran. Just something very bad happened in 1979, and this small group of fanatic mullahs, they came to power, and since then, they are just torturing and killing the real Iranians.
When the Ayatollah Khomeini came back in 1979 from exile, and he took over from the Shah of Iran, who came to the United States at the time. How quickly did the oppression come down on the people?
You know what? If you don't believe it, I mentioned it in my book, Comrade Ayatollah. I signed a copy and.
Oh, I know. Thank you.
And in this book, I mentioned the revolution happened, actual revolution, in 3 months.
That fast.
That fast. But before then, for maybe 15 or 20 years, Russia, KGB, they have been designing this revolution. They have been training mullahs.
Fomenting.
And for this, in this book, I have hundreds of documents which shows how the Russians, they trained mullahs to do Marxist Islamist revolution in Iran. But the actual revolution happened in 3 months. The people came out, and then the government decided to not kill the people, and Shah left the country.
All right, stay right there. We'll continue. Mir Fakhrova, I hope I said that well, is with us, and he is with the National Iranian Congress and its founder, and he has been active from the onset of this latest attempt by the Iranian people to get their freedom. We'll get back with more details. We'll talk about his prison time, how bad it was for him back in the day. 800-941-SEAN is a toll-free telephone number. You want to be a part of the program. Right, as we continue, Sean Hannity Show, 800-941-SEAN, a toll-free telephone number. We continue with Amir Fakhrova, who is with us, and he is the leader, if you will, of the National Iranian Congress, and he has been a part of the organizing and the day-to-day details of all the protests that have been happening in Iran. You spent 5 years in prison, so you were a student in Iran. You grew up in Iran. Why were you sent to prison for 5 years, and what happened?
The first time when they arrested me and they sent me to jail, I couldn't believe it. And it took maybe a couple of days for me to even understand I'm in jail in solitary confinement, and I didn't know why they.
What did they? You don't even know why they arrested you. How old were you at the time?
The first time I was 17, and just because I, in one of my speeches at high school, I said, why the government is not using the talented young people more? And then because of that, they said you spoke against national security. And then the second time when I was talking about the, then I went to the medical school, and then
so you're a medical doctor.
I was at that time, and then they didn't let me to finish my school, and then I went to law school in Iran, and I finished that one.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was medical student, I was arrested again because in one of my speeches at school, I said, it's looked like our country is not as free as our supreme leader says. And that was passing a lot of lines. And then they tortured me badly at that time. I was 18.
When you say tortured you badly, what did they do?
They broke many bones in my body, which most of them are fixed, but a couple of them still are not fixed. And then I'm still dealing with the pain. But it was
And
bad.
you spent how many years? 5 years?
5 years and 3 months.
And they beat you, they tortured you, they broke your bones.
daily.
What did they
by
take?
daily
Sticks and
basis.
bats and how? I'll tell you what. We'll pick it up on the other side. We'll keep you for a few more minutes. Then we'll get to the phones. 800-941-SEAN, a toll-free telephone number. And by the way, Amir Fakhrova is with us. He will be on Hannity tonight as part of our coverage. Is it possible to win a revolution with a slingshot? That's the difficult part of all this. Now we have Iranian leaders now demanding that France round up their French-based dissidents there. We'll give you the details of that as we continue straight ahead. All right, 25 till the top of the hour, 800-941-SEAN. You want to be a part of the program? I know everyone wants Palestine. What do you think of this Michael Wolff piece and the battle that's been going on with Steve Bannon and the president today? It's not my number one interest when you have hundreds of thousands of students now in Iran, unarmed in most cases, and trying to overthrow their government. And you're on the potential precipice, on the verge of these students being mowed down and shot and killed in cold blood. Finally, German Chancellor Angela Merkel has praised the Iranian protesters. We have Iran now, apparently the leadership so afraid they're demanding that France, they go out and round up all these French-based dissidents there. I don't think that's going to happen. Remember, in 1979 with the Iranian Revolution, after they deposed the Shah of Iran, then out of exile came the Ayatollah Khomeini. And that was the beginning of the decline of Iran. And the greatest fear in the Middle East, of course, is Iranian hegemony. And that is that, all these threats against Israel, the United States, their nuclear ambitions, it would change the geopolitical makeup of the world in ways we can't even begin to anticipate. And to me, it's a simple formula. If you let radical mullahs get weapons of mass destruction, well, there enters the possibility of a nuclear holocaust in our time. One of the leaders of this latest uprising and these protests going on in Iran is Amir Fakhrova was with us, and he's with the Iranian National Congress. And you were telling us that for 5 years you were put in Iranian prison when you first spoke out as a student. You had your bones broken. You were tortured. What else happened?
The worst type of torture was solitary confinement itself. Because when I was there, I had a lot of tortures, and they broke many of my bones when I was in solitary confinement. 8 months of solitary confinement, which was started before 9/11, 4 months before 9/11, and 4 months after 9/11. I came out of solitary confinement, and I realized it happened. Look how isolated I was in that situation, and it was very, very bad experience.
What is it? A cell that's dark? Is it, explain, are there rats, are there mice? You're just thrown in what?
It's called white torture. Mm-hmm. And it's not dark. Instead of dark, it's you have 2 lights and 24 hours. You can't sleep and you can't see any color but just creamy white color around you. And
how do you mentally deal with that type of torture?
Honestly, because of my believe in God.
So you would pray a lot.
And
for example, when your bones weren't broken, would you try to stay in shape?
I was just.
How did you occupy your time? In other words,
I was thinking about future, and I was thinking about, okay, we should be strong, and we know freedom is not free. We should pay the price, and we are the one which should make the future Iran. We miss to be friend with the world. We miss to be friend with United States and Israel.
So they never broke you. They only increased your resolve. Did you have a set time in jail? Were you sentenced to 5 years? Is that what your sentence was?
That was my sentence, was 8 years, and then I escaped from even prison.
Explain that. Well, we'll get to that in a second. But I know this sounds silly, but if you're in a room by yourself for 8 months, and then you finally get out, but then you're hanging out with, Iran's worst, or maybe good people? Was it mostly good people in jail, or good people and a mix of bad people?
For 14 months, they sent me in jail. They sent me to exile to the maximum security. And when the judge sent me there, I was a student activist. And all those criminals, they have been looking at me and saying, what the hell he is doing here? And then I was there for 14
So they put you among murderers and rapists and really bad people.
Judge said, I'm sending you there to make sure you will not come out alive. But I love God. God loves me and helped me a lot.
Did you have problems with those criminals?
You know what? That's the interesting story, because when I went there, because it was so unusual to be in that situation, they have been kind of afraid of me. They thought I'm part of agent of regime. I'm there to see what they are doing. And when I felt that, I said, okay, let's act smart and say, yeah, what's your problems? I'm coming to help you. And then I realized even those criminals in maximum security, they have been the victims of this brutal regime.
Let's talk about your escape. I got to imagine this is a scene for a future movie. Tell everybody. So how did you pull that off?
That's a long story. I mentioned that before, but with the help of some of my very good friend at the Bush administration at that time, specifically, I want to say thank you to Mr. Richard Pearl, and who was working at Defense Department at that time. And Richard Pearl helped me, and some of my friends in United States, Shahbazi family, specifically Manda Shahbazi, they helped me to manage to just make some fake documents and then can come out. And then when I was in Dubai, I escaped the country, and then over there, Richard Pearl, in a couple of hours, came there, and we had the interview in front of camera, which was part of a documentary called The Case for War. And then over there, he mentioned for Iran, we don't need to go to war because we have a student movement, very, very strong student movement who are fighting with the regime. Why? When we do have millions of student activists who love United States, who love the values of the Western democracies, why even we need to send army there to fight with the regime? These people, they can fight with the regime. Just we need to give them the tools, which is internet. This is the thing they need.
All right, so you have been planning this latest round of protests. Where does this end? I mean, you do have the president. He's offering moral support. But as I said, you don't win revolutions with slingshots, and they're not armed.
We have plan. It's, the people, the stage of revolution will not stay in that stage. It's up to the regime. If regime wants to just leave the power, because I know
they're not going to leave power.
Then it goes to the next
What's
stage.
The next level?
And then the people will have access to gun too. And then it will not be...
Do you think that some of the Iranian troops are sympathetic to the people?
Oh, for sure. I told you, I'm coming from the military family. My father was a Air Force Army officer. And Iranian army, the traditional army, which was the structure of that army is American during the Shah. And then this army never caved to the Iranian mullahs.
But how do you communicate when they've been shutting down the internet on a daily basis? Now, we have seen videos that have gotten out. Apparently, you are able to communicate, and I don't even want to ask you how, but you're communicating with the people that are leading this. How difficult is communications, especially when you need to organize?
Definitely, I'm sure you know, Sean, the Iranian new generation, they are a lot smarter than those crazy mullahs in power.
They'll figure that out.
Yes, we figured that out, and then regime is shutting down, and they have some support.
You don't think they're going to go out and... because we've seen this throughout history. People cling to power, and they will cling to power to the last breath. And unless somebody takes out the leadership of the regime, it seems like this task is like mission impossible.
But in Iran, honestly, it's not that hard to take out the regime elite. And we know how. It's the other stage of the revolution. We will go there. Right now, it's constitutional revolution. And we drafted our constitution for future Iran. We sent it to the people via internet. We asked them to look at this constitution, compare it with the crazy Islamic Republic of Iran's constitution, and compare it with United States constitution, which gives freedom.
Is there enough suffering? Have enough people suffered? I mean, what percentage of the people of Iran want this democracy that you're pushing?
Go to 95%. Just that 5% who have money from the government.
But don't these regimes always treat their military really well?
No.
They don't?
No, not...
Well, that's a dumb play on their part.
Recently, look, in Iran, we have two sides of military. It's traditional army and it's Revolutionary Guard. Revolutionary Guard have been designed by Russians during the revolution in 1979 because they knew they cannot control the traditional army.
Isn't that their better killing force? Isn't that the regime's front line of defense?
The traditional army is supporting people. We have seen during last 2 weeks a lot of statements from traditional army. They are telling the Revolutionary Guard, just be careful. If you don't see us, that doesn't mean we are not there. Just be careful what you are doing with the people. We are standing with the people. We posted a couple of their statements out on our social medias, and it gave a lot of hope to the people, because I am coming from that type of family, the traditional army family, and I know how loyal they are to the people and how much they are against the government. We can count on that army a lot.
You'd think so. How does this end? Because we've seen one revolution, attempts at revolution in many countries. Some succeed and some get crushed. I'd like to think that you succeed. I would like it for the people of Iran. I would like it to end these radicals that are in power. I would like to see an end to their nuclear ambitions. I think the world would be a safer place. And I think the natural condition of mankind, my own personal belief, in their heart, mind, and soul is to be free. Will this end? Will the ending be good, or is the ending? Are you confident it's going to end the way you want?
I'm 100% positive about it.
And how long will this take?
Because we have the plan. It's not going to be if it goes with the speed it's going right now. It's not. We don't need even to think about years. We should think about months. And it's.
What do the people of Iran want from the people of the United States? What do they like the people of the United States?
The people of Iran, they love Americans. And their feeling about President Trump, they really like President Trump. And, Iranian people, they have a couple of heroes right now, like Nikki Haley. With her comments and everything she is doing at United Nations, it's just tears coming to millions of Iranian people inside Iran when they are looking at her. And they think, oh my God, finally somebody is talking on behalf of us. And President Trump, every single comment of just check the social media and see how much support he has. Here in United States, the Iranian American, which many of them, they have been coming here during Obama administration, which they are regime loyalists, which is very crazy. And we know a lot of these people, the Basijis, their family members, they could come here easily with the help of Obama administration. These people, they're chanting against President Trump, but the real Iranians, millions of them inside Iran, they love President
Trump. Who are the people that keep showing up on behalf of the regime as counter-protesters?
It's just the regime has a militia called Basij. This is Revolutionary Guards militia. Some dumb idiots who their IQ level is very, very low. These people, even with one lunch, you can bring him to street to chant, yeah, we love Hannity. And if you follow the news, you will see it's exactly the similar faces.
Where does Hannity hide out?
That's a good question. I asked that on my Instagram post yesterday, and I said,
"Does anybody know
where he is?" We have some information about him because some of his very, very close people, they defected, and we are in touch with them right now. We know every single place Khamenei could go and can go. He sent his family to Russia. You can't believe it. A couple of days ago, they went with a charter airplane, went to Russia, went to Moscow, and they don't feel safe right now. Many of Iranian officials and their family members, they left the country already, and they asked their
you think this is it? You think this is the moment where the revolution will be overthrown?
We are at the time, and we need international community support.
What do you want the international community to do?
International community right now, honestly, means United States and Israel, because international community, European leaders, I'm glad finally German Chancellor came up, but look at the other leaders of Europe.
What about Prime Minister Netanyahu? He has offered his support for the Iranian people. He makes the distinction between the people and its government.
He is doing great. And he has a lot of support inside Iran with millions of Iranian people too. And he is doing a great job as President Trump is doing. And, you ask, what do we need right now? We need President Trump to give order. We know U.S. military is using type of satellite internet. We need, if regime right now is going to shut down the internet, we need to have satellite internet to make sure entire Iran will have the coverage of internet first. Second, here in the United States, we need the oil sanction. Oil sanction and central bank sanction comes up again. This time, Obama is not president to go behind the scene and give the pallet of cash to Iranian government. This time is different. We need oil sanction to come up. Just think about it, Sean. 85 to 90% of regime's economy is based on petrodollars. We should cut the lifeline of regime and don't let them have access to money, to the oil money.
I know that a lot of us in this country, we forget the high cost of freedom. I pray that there won't be many lives lost. That's not usually the case in revolution. And we wish all the best. I believe it's the natural state of mankind to be free. And I think the oppression has caused this. And I wish you and your regime well. And God bless you. And you're in our prayers. And I hope we're able to help in some way, because I think the world's going to be better off as soon as these guys are gone. Thank you, Amir. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Sean, for having me.
All right, Hannity tonight, coming up 9 Eastern, Fox News Channel. We hope you'll set your DVR as we cover all the issues involving Iran, the latest on the scandals, the biggest boomerang in history, and you don't want to miss a minute. We have Sebastian Gorka, Mike Huckabee, John Bolton tonight, Dan Bongino, Sarah Carter, and so much more. 9 Eastern, Hannity, Fox News, set your DVR. We are not the mainstream media. 9 Eastern tonight, at a time. Back here tomorrow. Thanks for being with us.